Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Caleb. I talk about boxing, MMA, and other combat sports here on this channel. Now, breaking news, if you already didn't know, Keith Thurman will be facing Sebastian Fundora for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship of the World pretty soon. Now, me personally, I like Keith Thurman and I like Sebastian Fundora. I think both are amazing fighters, and yeah, this is gonna be a good fight. But unfortunately, I think I will have to give this fight to Sebastian Fundora. Now, if you guys didn't know, Sebastian Fundora is the current WBC Championship of the World, with his last fight being against Tim Zhu. I think I am pronouncing this right, where he knocked him out or retired him in round 7. And his new opponent will be obviously Keith Thurman. Now, Keith Thurman, his last opponent was Brock Jarvis, but that was all the way back in March of 12th of 2025. Now, if you guys don't know, Keith Thurman has been in a weird spot where he's active, but at the same time inactive, only fighting every two years. And me personally, I think that is really going to catch up to him. Not only that, but he is going to be facing the much younger Fundora. I believe he is only 28 or 27, while he is in his late 30s, early 40s. Now, I do believe that Keith is an amazing fighter. He has all the tools necessary to beat this young champion. But his ring rust and inactivity is going to catch up to him, as well as his age. You as a boxer cannot take these types of breaks and expect to be at the top, it just can't. You can't. In order for you to be at the top of your game, you constantly need to be fighting, training, and just keep trying to keep up with everything that is going on in this crazy boxing world. Now, if you guys also didn't know, in the undercard is going to be Richard Torrez Jr. versus Frank the Cuban Flash Sanchez. Now, I think this is an amazing heavyweight bout that will be taking place. Now, Frank Sanchez, as you know, his last fight was against the journeyman Roman Olivias, if I believe I am pronouncing this right, Mexican journeyman heavyweight. And it was an okay fight for his comeback. If you guys didn't know, he did lose to Ajit Caballel, and but there was an issue with his knee that didn't allow him to perform to the best of his abilities. He did post on his Instagram though that he did get surgery and is slowly recovering. And he's going to be facing, obviously, Richard Torrez, up-and-coming young heavyweight, only 26, 14-0, with his last fight, I believe, being against Tomas Salic. I believe that is Croatian or German. I don't know. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But Richard Torrez Jr., did win that last bout against his opponent in round 1. Via knockout. I do think this might be a bit harder than his last fight. Obviously, we got Frank Sanchez, being a very experienced opponent, being in his prime as a heavyweight, being only 33, about to be 34. And I honestly think this is a really good step up for Richard Torrez. Maybe just a bit too much of a step up, but then again, he really does need to step it up if he wants to be involved with all the big names like Usyk, Wilder, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. He really does need to step up if he wants to be considered as a potential contender. And I really think this fight against Frank Sanchez will allow him to basically take this opportunity and raise his stock up and his name up. Don't get me wrong, this is going to be a hard fight for Torrez. He comes in wildly swinging. He really loves those hooks against his opponents, which does leave him susceptible to being countered, or if his opponent is fast enough, getting hit, as we saw against his fight against Isaac Munoz, where he was getting caught. He really doesn't take his defense very seriously, thinking his power is gonna, get him out of trouble, which so far it has. But you really need to be careful against these big, powerful heavyweights, especially as you go rise up in the ranks. This is a 6'4", 230-something pound man that's gonna be coming after you, encountering you if you don't fight right. I do believe Torrez is gonna be winning this fight. Me personally, I do believe so. He has the skill, he has the chin. He just really needs to be careful with his defense and really does need to work on it. Now, if you also didn't know, another Cuban that you should be watching out for during this fight is Lenny Hernandez. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But he is a Cuban middleweight, 6'2", I believe 28 years old, and so far he's done good. You really should be watching out for this young prospect. In his last fight, I believe he took on Kyron Davis in his in his last fight, I believe. But he whooped Kyron Davis, unfortunately. If you were a Kyron Davis fan, he whooped him pretty bad. He dropped him, and he won by unanimous decision. I feel like he could have won by knockout. He does have that power, and he does have that Cuban style of boxing, but I feel like maybe he just wanted to put on a masterclass, basically showing like, oh, hey, I don't only have knockout power. I can box as well, which, is to be expected from Cubans. You really should watch out for him. He trained with Canelo for the Terrence Crawford fight, and supposedly Canelo has said that he is going to be the next world champion in the middleweight and possibly super middleweight division. I really recommend watching out for this guy and putting maybe some bets on him, if you feel like that. Because me personally, I feel like I would. He is that guy. He is that guy, And another fighter that you should be watching out for as well is Elijah Garcia. Now Elijah Garcia, 17-1. His last couple of performances haven't been the best, if I am being real. Missing weight against Kyron Davis, barely winning against Terrell Gashua, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Barely winning, split decision 10-rounder. If Elijah Garcia really wants to get back into that contender, rising prospect column, he's really gonna need to put on a good performance against Kevin Newman. If he doesn't, then I really feel like he'll only really be there just to pad out future PBC cards. He really does need to put on a good performance in order for him to show that, hey, I'm still a contender. I could still mix in with the best of the best, in the middleweight or super middleweight division. I'm not sure if he's going to be sticking to the super middleweight division. I don't know. This bout that is coming up is in the super middleweight division. So maybe we'll see him become a contender there. Me personally, I would still love to see him in the middleweight division, but maybe the weight cut is getting to him. Anyways, that's all for right now. As much as I would love to talk about and get more into details about this, I didn't really prepare notes. This was sort of a not half-ass, but just a sort of in-the-moment video. Yes, so watch out for this bout. Save the date. It is March 28th, 2026. Now, remember, this is going to be Keith Thurman versus Sebastian Fundora for the WBC strap, with Richard Torrez and Frank Sanchez being a IBF title eliminator, possibly fighting with the winner of Fabio Wardley. No. Yeah, it's going to be a title. I forget who's the current IBF champion right now, but still. And then we'll also watch out for Elijah Garcia and Nelly Hernandez as well, Cuban prospect. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with another review hopefully very soon. Thank you so much.